Yo, what up? So, yeah, this is the 600-page sketchbook challenge, yo. I decided I was gonna give you guys the actual tour of the sketchbook, slowed down. I know that other video was like all over the place because this thing is heavy. You can't tell. This thing is pretty thick. You know what I'm saying? This thing is thick, and so yeah, it was just moving around on the actual page on the I have like a board that I use because my desk doesn't actually have space for sketchbook. So yeah, so I just kind of draw on this board and use it up. It's just like a portable thing. Anyways, so yeah, this is gonna be the tour of the sketchbook, and I know the title might be I'm not gonna say it's misleading. I'm gonna say it's clickbaity a little bit because that's what you got to do. What you got to do to get the views. But it's basically, I'm going to still talk about what happened over the 30 days. There was a lot of progression. A lot of things did happen in 30 days that dramatically improved me and affected my drawing ability and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things is realizing that sometimes, if you've ever seen the movie Whiplash, you should watch it. But this is really about people, artists, musicians, all that, kind of pushing themselves to break point limit. I'm not about that anymore. I think to me it's most important that I enjoy what I do. But we'll get into it. So yeah, let's just get into it. So this began on the 7th of January 2019. And I actually came across the challenge because I watched a video by Christopher Keiko. He is on YouTube, he's on Instagram, check him out. Really great artist. But I think the original person who created the challenge, I don't even know, it was Holly Brown. I think she's also, there's a bunch of people that do the tour of their sketchbooks. And what happened was I was doing this sketchbook here. So actually prior to this big old booty, I had I had a ton of sketchbooks here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sketchbooks. I wasn't doing all of them at once, but I was doing this one, which is the 7th one, and very heavy. I was studying a lot, man. I was just doing straight studies, and this is probably 2 or 3 years ago when I got back into art and I said, man, I'm gonna start studying again. I'm gonna start training again. And I always say training because I liken it to Dragon Ball Z. If y'all can't tell, okay, with these Dragon Ball Z tattoos, Goku, Vegeta, I'm kind of a DBZ fan here, and I just love the progression. I love the character growth. Not just on a mental, emotional, whatever level, a physical level. The characters grow, all of that. They grow in all different ways in Dragon Ball Z. And when Goku went to the hyperbolic time chamber, I'm not getting into DBZ here, but he went into the hyperbolic time chamber and trained for really short time. But it was that for them it was like in real time it was like this it's this chamber which distorts time, and they trained for years, like 2 years or something, or something like a couple of months or whatever. But it felt like it was in real time. It was like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or something, or whatever, like an hour, some shit. I don't know. Wait, look, okay, I know DBZ, okay. But anyways, so I was like, man, I wish there was something like that where I could train for a very short time and get a lot of mileage, and you hear so many artists talk about mileage and what is mileage and yada yada. And I've seen videos on Psychra, and he talks about mileage and iterative drawing, and I figured that that's the best way that I was going to do this. Is when people say just draw, it's like kind of misleading because you're like, what do you mean just draw? And so I decided, I hear a lot about anatomy, I hear a lot about perspective and a lot of different topics, and I was like, I'm just going to take a couple topics and focus on those, the core basic ones, because I think painting is great, but I see a lot of artists online who don't have a good core. I was one of them. I had terrible core drawing, so the face might be off, but maybe I've got good colors. But it doesn't help that, one eye is bigger than the other or something, or whatever it happens to be. Or the hand is really huge, or the perspective is off. So you gotta learn these core fundamentals first and then get into color. Because I think that the color part and the painting part is probably the easier part than the drawing. And I think that's what people are missing. It's just this core thing. It's like we really want to show off, I guess, and just like color's nice, it's bright, it's vibrant, but it's boring to look at people's sketchbooks. So yeah, I'm here gonna do my sketchbook tour challenge so you guys can look at my sketchbook and maybe not be bored. So anyways, yeah, so this is day one. I just kind of was focusing on faces, and I'm gonna kind of zoom through this sketchbook here because I don't want to take too long with the video. So day one, I was just doing faces. I was comfortable doing faces, and I was like, let me warm up. And at the time I was still using a Tombow. I think this is my Tombow. It's like one of my favorite pens. So I started going on Pinterest, and I would just like gather as many photos as possible. And every day, like I like Pinterest because like every time you click on a photo, it shows you similar links, photos and poses and things. So a lot of like fighting poses and things like that. And I think the reason I like this Tombow is I get really loose with my lines. Very loose. It's very like, to me at least, it seems very loose. But now looking back on this, I don't really like some of these lines. So I don't know if I can talk about each sketch. It's just so many. And that's kind of why I felt like I couldn't do the sketchbook in 30 days. So I did some hands. That's why I kind of felt like I couldn't do the sketchbook in 30 days because of the amount of sketches I was going to do. Sorry, I'm just going to put this here. So for the amount of sketches I was going to do, I was like, I don't know if I could do, 30 days. I'm like, I don't know. That just seems impossible. And at first when I did this is day one. And so I did 1, 2, 3, I can't count, 4, 5, 5. I did about 5, 6, 7, 8. So I did about 10 pages, man, I think. Something like that. Yeah. But I went super slow. Trust me, it was like slow because I was taking my time on any page. I thought I had all the time in the world. And I look back and I was stressed. And the first day, I switched over to my regular pen, just like a ballpoint pen. I was switching it up. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. And I started to realize that if I keep drawing with this many drawings per page, I'm never gonna be able to make it. But at first I was like, no, I'm just gonna push myself. You just gotta do it. And so yeah, this is Bruce Lee, a bunch of poses there. And so I was like, I'm just gonna push myself and draw more than anyone's ever drawn in a 600-page sketchbook and just fill up each page. And granted, I think I still did kind of accomplish that, but I think it was a little bit unreasonable for me to think that I could draw as much as some of my other sketchbooks. Because I have other sketchbooks where I do draw like this. I'll show you in a bit, but my previous sketchbooks, I do actually, when it's not like time, when I don't really have like a time restraint on a sketchbook, I draw like very freely and I just fill up each page because it just feels good and it's really messy. So I also have a skull that I use for reference. It's a physical skull and I just use it as a reference for skull studies. And that's pretty much what you're going to see here is just a ton of studies. Studying anatomy, studying poses, faces. I go back and I draw faces over and over and over. Side view, top view, whatever the hell I could do, like 3/4 view. Trying to get good at those poses. I started drawing cats, you saw that earlier. I sucked at drawing them at first. I just could not. Here I think I started getting a lot better. I think it's because when you start drawing cats, you think you're supposed to like, on the outline, like the outline of the cat. I kept thinking I had to draw like the hair, like draw like little strands of hair, kind of like tuft, like little beard. But it looks kind of weird and it's hard to, it doesn't give the form kind of solidity. So that's why I kind of just went with straight lines around it. And then within the actual form, that's where you'd see all the fluff and stuff. And that gives the illusion, I guess, of third dimensionality of the form. So yeah, let's kind of zoom on it here. This is where I start noticing that this is the pen I want to keep using. I can tell which pen it is because it's my Faber-Castell. It is one of my favorite pens. I don't have all my pens with me right now. But here's where I started switching over to the Faber-Castell pen. And this thing is so sweet because it's just the right amount of thickness for the lines. And when you got a thick book like this, you need some thick lines, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, yeah, let me use that pen. I started using cats. I don't know, I used to love using pencil, but I like really dark black lines on my page. I like to see the thickness of the lines and, So it's kind of getting hard for me to actually go back to even just regular pens and stuff. But thankfully, I am in a phase right now of just doing digital sketches and using my iPad as a sketchbook. I'm telling you right now, guys, I never want to touch another sketchbook again after this. Like, I'm going to tell you that the sketchbook challenge, and so I'm just going to kind of flip through some of these. I might not talk about every page, but the sketchbook challenge is great, but you start to feel like you want to do other stuff. You want to paint, but like at the same time, you're like, man, I just wish I could I want to do like other drawings, or paintings and color and stuff, but you can't because it sounds like something in you like feels incomplete if the sketchbook's not done. And I wanted to focus all my energy on doing this. Also, do not like the Pentel pocket brush pen. Kim Jung-hee has brush pens that he uses, and a lot of artists that I appreciate, they use that, but I can't use it no matter how many times I try. But yeah, like I was saying, just this sketchbook, man, I started to realize that I was starting to feel very unhappy in the beginning of the sketchbook challenge, just because, for one, I'm not a big fan of sketchbook challenges, but it also started to feel, like I was just like, I don't know, I wasn't being true to myself, like I wasn't happy, and I wanted to do something else. And this is only day 4, and yeah, I mean, it does look like a lot of pages, but I mean, this is like hours upon hours, and I get burnt out really easily with this. So I think if you focus on what you love, I think everyone should do the challenge if they feel like it's going to improve them a lot, because it does dramatically. Like you draw so many faces after a while that you just like start learning how the shape of the face and the proportions, and I do direct drawing, so I started to get better at doing that and aligning the actual proportions of the face. The eyes go where they're supposed to go. Side view is something I struggled with. I haven't even spoken about any of these sketches yet, so but I just I kind of want to give you guys my insight onto what happens after you do the sketchbook challenge. I think you build up a visual library, which is super important. I think you add so much information to your brain, and then that translates to your hand. Like your hand, like for me at least, I need to physically do something to like kind of solidify it in art. I can't just stare at something and But there's an exercise that I do that when you stare at something and draw it in your head. But I think physically drawing it and having the sketchbook, at the same, like physically drawing it helps to kind of like burn it into your head. So yeah, and sorry if I'm all over the place, I had so many thoughts I was going to say about this sketchbook, and I hope that I get to tell you all of them. But you see how I messed up this face. Perspective, I have a red pen, use that. Can I do some perspective training, little perspective things? I actually have this book by Matthew Brem, I think it's Matthew Brem. It's basically like super simplified version of like how to do perspective. It like makes everything very simple, breaks down the concepts, and all you need to know as an artist. No clue what I'm doing. So yeah, I just did a bunch of those little box faces. Yeah, so good. I don't like this face. Every time I see this face on this page, I'm like, ugh. So yeah, this, some of these, some of that. Man, we are only 13 minutes in. I need to speed up. So I'm gonna go through some of these a little faster. My goal is to make this video like 40 minutes long, something like that. This dude, he looks a lot like my character, which looks a lot like me. I'm basing one of my main characters of my comic off of me, so yeah. Yikes, I write that a lot. Some days I wasn't feeling it. Some days I actually could tell that I was not feeling it. And something interesting that happens with the sketchbook is some days I'll draw and I'll start warming up. I'll do usually I warmed up with one full page, and I'll think to myself, oh man, this is crap. I don't like any of the shit I'm drawing. And then I'll come back a little later and be like, dang bro, that was nice drawings. And it's just kind of weird how I'm critiquing myself and I'm actually drawing pretty well, but my mind won't let me see that it's good. Actually, Tony Robbins had a talk about this. I really like this curved linear perspective. So, or should I say the bird's eye? or whatever it is. But Tony Robbins had this talk about that where, like, you know, when you're a kid and your mother would tell you, like, go get me the salt from the kitchen or whatever, or, you know, at least in black families, that's how it is. Go get the salt from the kitchen. And you say, Mom, I can't see it. He says, on the shelf, on the third shelf on the top. And, you know, you keep saying, I can't see it. And eventually she has to come into the room and say, if I come in there, I'm gonna find it, watch. And she finds it. And it doesn't even have to be the salt. I mean, even today in relationships, you know, a partner tells you, hey, can you get my charger from the room? And you're like, I don't see it. And, you know, they come in and they get it and they say, here it is. And it's exactly where they described, but you couldn't see it. And he was talking about that and saying that that's the reticular activating system or something, where, like, if you tell your brain enough times about something that maybe you don't see something or whatever it is, you will begin to, like, believe that you can't see it. And so I think as artists, that's super helpful, because that's kind of where, if you look at Olympic athletes, they do visualization. And I think I'm actually going to do a video on this and just talk about the topic more. But yeah, I think visualization and being able to, like, see yourself as being great in your mind, see your artistic skill and value, helps you to get there a lot faster, because, you know, then you're confident. Like, confidence is super important. Like, I became super confident with some of these lines. Like, this pen, I'm gonna say one thing about pens, okay? They say that it's not the pen that makes the master or whatever it is, but, like, there are some pens that I just can't stand, like this, the Pentel. Funny enough, this comes up just as I say this, the Pentel Pocket Brush Pen. I can't stand this pen because I don't feel like I have the control that I want. And I'm sure that if I keep drawing with it over and over and over and just keep trying, that eventually I'll get really good at it. But nobody said, like, I keep making these self-imposed rules that I need to be good at the Pentel Pocket Brush Pen because Kim Jong-il's good at it or something like that. I'm like, nah, man, like, you make your own rules. You don't have to be great at anything. Find what's comfortable. I'm getting hyped here. Okay. There is a point in which you can say to yourself, like, I'm gonna live up to my own expectations, and there's a point where you can be in your comfort zone and, like, enjoy your comfort zone. But there's also a time where you should step out of it. Like, you know, sometimes my comfort zone is reference right now. Most of these drawings, 90% of these drawings are done from reference, and I know that that's become a very comfortable place for me to work from. Like, it's just super comfort zone for me, and I want to move away from that. Like, now I want to start using drawings from imagination, and that's kind of why I think digital is kind of helpful, because I can kind of have the darkness of the pen and the way that it feels to draw, like with dark lines and draw directly and stuff, but also being able to erase, go back and, you know, I mean, pencil's cool, but I just love dark. I feel like maybe I'm the only person who doesn't like using pencils that much. I do use them sometimes, and I think I used them for many years, but when I found out about pens, man, I'll tell you who was Cynics, okay? Y'all can tell. I watched a lot of Cynics' videos, and seeing him draw with the pens, I'm like, man, that's how I want to be. So, and I love it. It's one of the greatest things. And even another artist, Koteri Inc. This is some of his artwork studies here. This one here. Yeah, these are all his characters from his comic. Go check him out on Instagram. But I did some studies of his artwork, and he uses ballpoint pens, and he even talked about using the Kim Jong-il pen and said he hated it, you know. A lot of artists like Karl Kopinski, I think I do some studies of him. He also tried to use the Kim Jong-il pen, said he didn't like it at first. And you know, it's kind of exciting because when you find out someone that you admire as an artist uses a pen that you love using. So I found that Karl Kopinski also uses the, what do you call it? He also uses the Tombow, which is, I think it's this one. But he uses the Tombow pen, and I was like, man, the Tombow is so great. Like, it really is such a great pen. Like, you buy it on Amazon, it comes in 2-pack. One of them's a hard tip, and then the other one's like a softer kind of tip. I love that pen. But again, the one that I love the most is my Faber-Castell, just because it's soft. It's kind of got that brush pen feel with a little bit of control to it. I just, again, can't get down with the, what do you call it? This one. Pentel Parker brush pen. But I do like to step out of my comfort zone and use pens that I don't like, and then see whether or not I like them. And, sometimes at first you won't like something. I wasn't very good at drawing directly at first because, again, comfort zone, I was used to drawing with guidelines. Now I'm actually going back to guidelines and reiterating what I already know. And I still think that guidelines really do make your stuff a little bit stiff. However, let me preface that with, it depends on how you're using the guidelines. Karl Kopinski, this is his stuff. This is nothing like what he draws. I mean, it's a little bit, but I just copied a lot of his sketches as studies. He uses guidelines sometimes, but very lightly in pencil. He will it won't even really be it's almost like gestural. So he'll do like gesture drawing basically. And then he'll take a pen and go over it completely. And it's like, oh man, dude. His stuff just, the way he goes over the pen, and he still maintains that looseness of the sketches. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. 21 minutes and I'm only I've only gone through this much, yo. This might be an hour-long video, who knows? If you guys want to watch an hour-long video, I would appreciate it. But I'm gonna speed up. So this is Pentel Parker brush pen. I do like that sketch. Started using that a little bit more. Regular pens, and this is the Faber-Castell. At one point I kind of just stopped using any other pen other than the Faber-Castell, but this is one of my favorite regular pens as well. It's a ballpoint gel pen from Pentel. I don't know what the name of it is now. It's like an Energel, I think is what it's called. It's kind of smooth. I don't know, I really like it though. I think one that I want to get into is dip pens, calligraphy pens and stuff. Those to me are just awesome because you can get thickness and thinness in the same pen. That's my ultimate goal, is to get a pen that can help me do all of that. So yeah, more anatomy, lots of anatomy. You guys can see a ton of anatomy poses. Hi Chico, that's my cat. I don't know if you can see his tail or anything, but he's here. Yeah, so there's a bunch of those anatomy poses, trying to get different perspectives. This pose was kind of difficult, but I think I must say I pretty much nailed that one. I think so. But yeah, it is challenging to do things with direct drawing, because you have to really observe and make sure that what you see, you have to as you're doing it, say to yourself, okay, this is what I'm seeing, and then draw exactly what you see. You have to commit. There's a lot of commitment that you have to make. I really like this sketch. This is when I try to refill the pen blotted on the page. Yeah, some more of these. But yeah, you have to really commit when you're using direct drawing. And for those of you who don't know what direct drawing, I don't know if I've spoken about it. Direct drawing is, I think it's pretty obvious, is when you draw without guidelines. When you draw just directly, you just go straight forward and just direct drawing. Maybe it's called something else by some people, but that's what I know it as. So that's what I'm gonna say. Backs, did a lot of back studies. I think one of the reasons right now that I'm done with the sketchbook itself is because there's a lot of studying I think you can do digitally that you can't do in a sketchbook. Having layers and being able to layer over this and then draw the muscle groups in different pen colors and go back and flip through each layer and kind of see that individually. Oh, I think this one's from Imagination. Yeah, so yeah, I just think her head, I mean, it looks small, but I think it's just that she has that suit on. But yeah, I remember that one. A couple of imaginative drawings here and there. But yeah, I was doing this almost every day on Twitch. I was streaming as much as I could of this sketchbook challenge. And this is one of my favorite pages. But the thing is, I noticed that I would get super tired and burnt out. And I think, I don't want to say self-care, but I'll say that I guess it's self-care, but just loving yourself enough to say, man, yo, I ain't feeling it today. There were times where I didn't draw for, later on in the sketchbook, there was a time where I didn't draw for a whole week. And I was like, I'm not going to beat myself up about this because, it doesn't feel good to do that. So just draw, man. Draw when you want to draw. Be be like your younger self when you were a kid and you used to draw for fun of it. You just drew because it was enjoyable. That's what I want to be like, you know. Kids don't rate themselves and say, oh my god, am I making enough? Like, is there a quota that I need to fill, you know, in terms of sketches on a page or whatever. Make mistakes. Like, I'm not even that great at drawing cars, and like, look at that wheel. Like, that's another thing. That is the biggest thing, is learning to allow my mistakes. And one of the things that started happening with this sketchbook that I learned was that I started getting very precious again. So basically what I mean is, a friend of mine had this story that he told me where his teacher had once told him that he won't really improve as an artist if he doesn't stop being precious about his sketchbook. And the thing that a lot of us do with the sketchbooks is we think that the best way to improve is to try and make the best art. Like, by that I mean you draw slowly, you draw really intricately, and you maybe you stream it or put it on YouTube, whatever it is, but all you draw is just very slow. You never really get mileage because you're trying to be safe, you know. It's like someone who's trying to drive safe, you know, and they don't realize that by driving 20 miles per hour on the freeway, you're actually hindering yourself. The best way to get better at drawing is to drive, maybe not say drive fast, but the best way to improve artistically is to draw, in a sense, kind of a little bit faster. You draw more pages, more artwork per page. Sometimes it's good to really go slow and have like days where you draw slow pages, but for the most part, for me, drawing as much as possible, because I'm getting so much more done. Like, it's like the difference between doing 1,000 push-ups and doing 100 push-ups. Like, yeah, you could do 100 slow push-ups, but you didn't gain as much as someone who did 1,000, you know. And the person who's doing 1,000 push-ups, they are learning a lot about their muscles and how to control the weight maybe, and all that. So that's kind of what I was doing. To me, this is like, that's why I say Dragon Ball Z. It's like the hyperbolic time chamber, you know, extra gravity. It's like really hard conditions. And I think, the diamond, you know, certain things and elements in nature need to go through a lot of stress in order to evolve, to kind of change. A lot of that needs to happen. You need to be able to put yourself through some really stressful, not stressful, but challenging situations, artistically, even mentally with this. It put me through a lot of mental, anguish in a sense. I think this is from imagination. But yeah, it put me through a lot that made me decide that I was, not decide, but it helped me grow a lot, because I was like, man, bro, this is like really tough, and I didn't realize how much I can endure as an artist. So yeah, just a lot of sketches. Just if I could give anyone tips, I guess I'd say draw more. Like, sit down, go on Pinterest, look up like a bunch of reference photos, build up libraries of images, and just start drawing everything. If you're bad at backs, draw 1,000 backs. That's kind of why you look at, like, I like this. The best thing I like to do is study people who I admire artistically. Ahmed Al-Dori, Cynics, Rake. There's a lot of artists. Koteri Ing, Carl Kopinski, Kim Jong-un, all these people, they all seem to be doing the same one core thing, which is like drawing a ton of drawings. And they did a lot of reference drawings. Like, I'm amazed when I still see Ahmed Al-Dori still doing, he's still over here doing hand challenges, and sorry if I'm pronouncing his name incorrectly here. I don't want to try and butcher it, but I might have already. But anyways, he still draws like 600, 500 hand challenges, or even modern day James does the same thing. And I'm like, why would they still need to? Because they're always learning. They're always realizing that you can't get too comfortable in your comfort zone with the art. You've got to know that you're great, but also know that there's room for more. Actually, one of my favorite books was talking about, like, it said something, I forgot, I think it was Gratitude Effect or something, but it said you got to know how to say, I'm grateful, but I want more. Like, that's the kind of state you got to be. Like, be grateful about your level of skill, but also want more, want to improve more. Like, know that you're great, appreciate where you are artistically, but also like know that there's more improvement. So still going back and doing, I'm still going to go back and do a ton of anatomy because still a lot of stuff that I struggle with, like the neck is something that I really struggle with. And so I'm going to do a lot of poses and references. For now, as it stands, after doing this sketchbook challenge, I'm kind of taking a break from this and just kind of focusing on my painting side now, like focusing on color, focusing on shadow, lighting, and perspective. Those are the main things that I want to work on. I want to like do buildings, landscapes. I want to be like an all-around artist. I mean, I'm not going to be maybe jack of all trades, master of none, but you know, I want to be able to learn as much as I can. So yeah, again, a lot of these were just done from Pinterest, and some of these, if you notice, the poses are, I guess, a little bit lewd. They are from a lot of adult sites where it's models, just soft erotic models and things. The reason I use them is because their poses are a lot more like dynamic than even some of the actual anatomy poses that you'll find. So some of the websites I was using, to name a few, let me move this now because it's uneven. I was using Human Anatomy for Artists, and that's a really great site because, again, they have tons of poses that you can use there. And they also have a paid subscription, which I didn't subscribe to yet, but tons of poses on there. And I just like dynamic poses. I don't, you know, I think you can still learn how to do all of this, do figure drawing and life drawing from the comfort of your home. I just have my cell phone out next to me. If you watch the actual video, I mean, you probably see it in the video, and I just go through Pinterest, and then I go to like the next websites that are, you know, whatever, and I'll see poses like this, and like the woman just like really in the, you know, it's almost like the way that they pose is very like there's just like an energy to it, like, you know, they really try to like stretch their body in really abstract ways and things like that. And you get to see the muscles contort and stuff in different ways that you usually wouldn't see, like this. Like, this is a fantastic pose, you know, and this is on one of the erotic websites or whatever. So I don't even know YouTube's laws and rules, so I won't really say which websites. But just look online, you'll find some sites. I mean, you will definitely find some sites. Just type in, you know, softcore erotic photography or whatever it happens to be. But again, it's, you know, it's artistic stuff. I mean, my brain turns off. I don't really see it as being like a sexual thing. I'm just like, man, I'm trying to learn something here, so let me draw that armpit right now, you know, like yeah, nice. A lot of this is done on Twitch as well, so I had to like kind of try and censor some of my stuff, because, you know, whatever. But yeah, like a lot of lingerie shoots are really awesome. Instagram has a lot of great models that pose and stuff, and I use that too. So whatever reference you can use. So yeah, guys. Anyways, that's a nice page. I really like this pose. But yeah, like I learned a lot, man. I started to learn my own artistic styles, and just kind of like seeing how which lines are uncomfortable for me to draw. Sometimes when you draw, you'll have a lot of lines that you are not comfortable drawing because you have an idea in your head of what the line should look like. And I'm trying to find an example of this. There's certain body parts that I'm like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Like that line, I feel like it should go downwards, but it doesn't. You know, it goes in a different angle. I'm trying to think of, like, there's muscles, there's certain things that, like, sometimes with the neck, for instance, there'll be certain collarbones. The collarbone, one will be shorter on one end just because it's going into perspective. And that's something that I struggle with. Again, that's why when people draw a lot of foreshortened body parts, they mess it up. Even me, when we do that at first, because you think that the foreshortened should be bigger than it is, but it's not. Sometimes it's weirdly like large, or sometimes it's because it's closer to the camera, or sometimes it's really small, and you're just like, no, that doesn't look right. Or like the foot, you know, like that doesn't look right. So that's kind of why drawing so much from reference is important, because you start to draw what you see, and then you build up. And the thing about it as well is a lot of anatomy. It's why people stress it so much. I think it's because it translates into how you draw animals and creatures, monsters, all that kind of stuff. It seems that humans always base our creative drawings, whatever, on a lot of human anatomy, you know, a lot of creatures. This is actually from a reference to someone else's sketch. I don't like these pages. This is one time where I really don't like these pages. I went back to like a regular pen. I just really wasn't feeling them. More anatomy poses. This is like I said, guys, a lot of anatomy. Like, I took a break. I even tell myself to take a break. A lot of anatomy poses. Yeah, sometimes I laugh at myself. I ain't feeling it. I think I messed up somewhere here. It's funny, like, I'll think, this doesn't look terrible. I mean, it's whatever, but you know, I'll like laugh at myself. I'll be like, nah, not good enough. Anyways, this is 342. I think this is where I first started counting pages. So we're halfway through the sketchbook, and we should have 30 minutes. Yes. So this video might be a little bit long, guys. It might be about an hour long, so I'm still gonna kind of rush through these last few pages for you here. These are warm-up pages. I do warm-ups just because my muscles and my brain need to get into alignment. My brain needs to be able to see what my hands do, or my hands, or vice versa, whatever. Like, here is really terrible. Like, that torso is really long, and his arm is like strange, and it's because I wasn't thinking of perspective. I was just seeing him as a flat object. And so right now I'm actually doing a lot of mannequinization drawings. Another artist, plug, who's really good, his name is Bear the Mighty. He does a lot of really great mannequin drawings where you draw them as like boxes for the chest and whatever, and then it helps you to just see the pose as it, like, you know, turns in. This is an example. This isn't a mannequinization, but this is somewhere where I messed up and I realized I wasn't really getting it that right. Like, here it's supposed to be coming a little shorter. You can see it's a little shorter, but it still looks almost identical. It should be turning more towards the camera. Again, here, so it's something I want to work on more. And you look like you got Popeye arms, forearms. But yeah, like, it's okay, guys, to make mistakes. That's the biggest thing. Like, I just let myself be messy. And I think that's the thing I was telling you about my friend's teacher. I don't know if I finished that thought, actually. I tend to do that a lot. But his teacher told him not to be precious with his art, and allow himself to be messy. If you ever watched the Magic School Bus, she would always say, take chances, make mistakes. That's what I'm doing. My YouTube videos are sometimes mistakes. Sometimes I upload videos and I'm like, it was terrible. Why did I upload that video? Not like, it's just the quality of it, the drawing. You know, even my sketchbook challenge, time lapse, I was like, man, I made mistakes. I should have learned to like keep the camera stable and not move the sketchbook, but whatever. You learn, man. You learn. You gotta make mistakes. You've got to be able to make a ton of mistakes. I'm still making mistakes. This is y'all watching me learn about how I make mistakes. This is all about my mistakes. And here are some mannequinizations. You take the pose, Robo Beans or whatever, you just draw it as a mannequin. Really helpful because then you can see the boxiness of the chest. You see which way it goes in direction. This is a really nice face. This one has a lot of realism to it, just because it's like, I don't know, it looks really nice. So sometimes I can't even understand why a pose looks really good. This one is actually supposed to be a little bit more perspective-y, coming towards the camera, but it just looks like she has really long legs, kind of. But hey, man, I was just going through these things. Tons and tons and tons, getting sick of anatomy. There were days, I'm telling you right now, where I was getting so sick of doing the same thing over and over. Like, I was getting sick of doing these human bodies. Like, yeah. So I would end up doing, I think I would do like gorillas and animals, try to draw different things. It does kind of get a little bit like, you know, Rushing a Dragon. This is from Whiplash, where it's y'all gotta watch that movie. The movie's great. It really teaches you a lot about yourself as an artist and how much people push themselves. And again, like I said, I'm never going to do the sketchbook challenge again because I felt like I was pushing myself too hard. I was super unhappy with drawing for a while in the sketchbook challenge, and I want to be true to myself, and I want to enjoy what I do, and I don't want to feel like drawing is a chore. But the great part of it was that because I did 600 pages, I cut out a chunk of my studies. Like there's a ton of stuff that I would need to study that I do still need to study, but that I no longer need to, like, you know what I mean? Like, I've taken steps forward. I've taken a lot of steps forward. Maybe I'm on a journey artistically from here to California, and the sketchbook helped me get halfway there, So, yeah, so what was I trying to say? I was trying to say something. Oh, this is a really nice page. Really like the perspective here in this post. This is probably like my favorite page in the sketchbook. But yeah, man, just I forgot what I was gonna say. It was something good. Y'all just pretend I said something really good right there. So yeah, more poses, tons and tons of anatomy poses over and over and over. Again, like I said, you see how the poses are so dynamic. This is from one of those websites. Very dynamic poses. The women stretch so much when they pose that I'm like, man, this is so sick. You guys like really contort the muscles in ways that really help to see. I think I redrew this face earlier as well. Too tired. Yeah, what I was gonna say was, the thought just came to me was that, pause, 1 second, hold. Now I'm about to tell you that thought, just hold it for a sec. Modern Day James had just posted his thing about the facial expressions challenge. So I even decided to start doing that. So I was doing challenges within challenges. I think I did the Amador hand challenge. So this is a bunch of facial expressions. I just kept drawing. I think I may have reached the goal of 100. That is a chubbier Stan Lee. I was trying to get the likeness, but I think he just should have been a little bit skinnier on the face. Facial expressions, mouth, teeth, open mouth, Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean again. I like this sketch of Mr. Bean. So yeah, what happened actually right after finishing the sketchbook challenge, and it's kind of like for the past week or so, I didn't draw for like 3 or 4 days after doing the sketchbook challenge. I did not touch a single pen. I was like, nah, I'm not doing it. I've been playing video games and relaxing, and I think I'm a lot happier. My girlfriend even noticed that. She said, Josh, I think you've become a lot more relaxed since the sketchbook challenge ended, because I wasn't letting myself do anything. Like, I'd be like, oh, I can't go here because I got to do the sketchbook challenge. I mean, I'm already very introverted in a sense that I'd like to stay home and stuff. But it was even more to an intensified degree where I was like, nah, I'm not trying to do this. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to spend time watching a movie or whatever it is. Something I might enjoy doing. And so that's kind of why I think you shouldn't force yourself to draw for like 24 hours straight or 8 hours a day and all that stuff. It's cool. Like, man, I keep going over this thought, but it's just like, do what you love, guys. So yeah, more of the sketchbook here, more anatomy poses. Some of my favorite subjects to draw are actually athletes. Again, athletes are amazing. If you want to know how to draw muscles in motion and stuff, athletes and fighters, woo, boxers especially, man, they pull their muscles when they make a fist. They really contort and push. Not so much contortion, but there's a lot of like force. So I was doing a lot of that, and I would do some clothing studies. I noticed that when I started doing them, sometimes I draw the head a little bit big. But yeah, I'm used to drawing clothing just because that's what I primarily did a lot of, was clothing from Dragon Ball Z characters and stuff. So I think I'm very comfortable drawing clothing. Growing up, I never thought that drawing nude people was like super important. I always thought that it was like, oh my god, you're drawing nude, you must be into hentai or some shit like that. But come to realize that it's not about that. Like, anatomy is super important, because once you know that, then you can just put the clothing on top of the person, So, and this is, funny enough, these few pages here, this is like a little bit left of the sketchbook. This is like the last 30 days or so, which I was stressing about because I was like, I just want to be done. And so I started drawing a lot less per page. And this is what I wanted to show you real quick. This is one of my regular sketchbooks right here. And this is how much I draw per page on a regular sketchbook. Each page is super filled up. This is like the last sketchbook I did before the challenge. But each page is super filled up. Like I'm just messy. And it's because I never think about drawing for anyone else. I just draw for me, and the sketchbook is meant to just be something that I'm using as a study workbook. But it is kind of difficult in this to fill up the page as much as possible. It's a little bit unreasonable. So I just kind of focused on more composition stuff. So just like leaving negative space on a page, and this just in being able to enjoy like the sketches themselves and not really focus so much on filling everything up. And hopefully I'm going slow enough, and maybe not, I don't know. I'm trying to finish this sketchbook without making the video too long, but at the same time, I mean, I gotta show you everything, so just kind of go with the flow, you know what I mean? Question mark, question mark. Now see, again, some days I would like draw something and wasn't happy with it. I don't think I was happy with this. It feels very stiff, almost like an animal. She just feels very stiff. She doesn't feel like, it looks like a very uncomfortable pose to do. And it's just weird how some days like I won't really like some of my sketches and then come back and I'm like, oh, that's better. Didn't like these though. I still don't like these. This I tried to draw this face with the mask over it, but it messed up. And I noticed what was happening was I was running out of reference to draw. So I'd go back, man. I'd go back and I'd just be like, I'm just gonna draw more anatomy. And that's pretty much what this sketchbook is. It's just a ton of anatomy. You saw some gorillas, some cars, but for me the most important thing again was anatomy and faces and poses, tackling my weaknesses in a sense. Yeah. This is a long torso, a little bit too long, kind of messed up here in the back. Again, remember I told you that this is ballpoint pen. Oh yes, so I went to Staples and I ended up buying a lot of just regular big ballpoint pens, and I freaking love them because I can get that darkness that I love in lines, but also like kind of keep the thinness and the gray from like the pencil, how you do pencil. So I can kind of shade a little bit better. It's kind of hard to shade with my Faber-Castell. It's a little bit of a thick pen. Actually, I think because I kind of wore the tip out of the pen, but yeah. So yeah, this is, nope, wasn't feeling that. Just took a break, slow down, told myself to slow down. Started to lack inspiration, chill, remind myself, more warm-ups. It's funny, like some days you'll see one page say warm up and it'll say warm up again. That's because like on this day, I'm pretty sure I drew on this day and then I gave up and said I'm not going to draw for the rest of the day. Came back and drew again the next day. And I had to keep reminding myself to get messy. That's like my biggest thing I could tell anyone is just get messy, man. Like, oh, if you could just loosen up, that's to me like hold the pen at the tip. Like not the tip, I mean the booty, the end of the pen. If you hold like a little higher on the pen, oh, you'll be amazed at how much more of a looseness you can get. That's kind of why if you see artists, I wish I had a pen to show you. I'm going to show you with the hairbrush. But, so with the hairbrush, most people hold the pen like this. But if you learn to hold it like this, like the art, they draw like this, where it's like, I learned how to do this. And it really did help me to learn how to draw from my shoulder rather than just my wrist and doing wrist motions. So yeah, that's what I started doing, just like, and it transferred it over to how I draw. I still draw like this, but I learned to like kind of loosen up my shoulder a bit with it. So I hold the pen up. It's kind of hard. I mean, I think I did try doing this with the Faber-Castell. Kind of worked, but yeah. Drawing some lizards and chameleons. I love chameleons and stuff to draw. They're really nice subjects. It was just a fresh take. Oh man, okay, yo, this is one of the worst sketches in the book. Oh, this thing, I hated this. I was drawing, sorry, I went up right to the camera on the mic there, but This was supposed to be a lion or a tiger, and I don't know what happened, yo. I was just like, that looks terrible. Like, oh, it reminds me of something from Napoleon Dynamite. But anyways, yeah, really terrible. So anyways, let's give it 10 more minutes for this video, but that's a really bad sketch. Perspective. And I decided here that I was like, I'm not gonna cheat, but like, man, give yourself a break, Josh. It's okay to draw one drawing on a page. I was like, I'm gonna draw this reference of this guy that I saw on Pinterest, and that this page counts. And then this counts too, and this counts too. So yeah, I don't know. I just gave myself a break. It's okay, man. Treat yourself. Treat yourself. Shit. Treat your motherfucking self. So yeah, a lot of poses. I really like this pose. No space. I think I was lying. I said like I was gonna draw on this part of the page, but I was like, nah, no space. Again, like I said, I was getting sick of the sketchbook. Like, you cannot imagine. Even now, just looking at it, I'm like, oh, I just want to be done. Like, and it's funny, I'm not even drawing right now, but I already feel that. I just wanted to be done with the sketchbook itself. More anatomy poses. These are Instagram models. Yeah, these are all Instagram, I think. A lot of the poses are very nice. Running out of inspiration. It's very limiting when you have a sketchbook. And actually, I think this happens with a lot of artists, is that it's difficult to draw for an audience and study the way that you want to study, because sometimes when you do study, if you look at some of the greatest musicians and artists and things, sometimes their stuff is like in a cave, not a metaphoric cave, but they would draw in like their own space of their home where no one can see them, and they study and they train and to improve and stuff, and it's not in front of an audience, I mean, even though in some movies you might see Rocky training in front of us as the audience watching the film, but to him, it's just him and his trainer, or him in the gym. It's not about him trying to be, because he knows the performance is coming soon. There's a difference between practice and performance, and he knows that he's going to be in the ring soon, and that's when he can show his abilities off. And so if you keep boxing and fighting artistically, I guess, if you keep drawing as though you're in a ring with someone else, which I mean could be a good analogy to say, like, the only person in the ring is you versus yourself, or whatever. But if you keep fighting as though, or drawing as though people are watching you, and you're trying to improve to show people, you draw so much slower and worse, because it's like you're not messy, you're not learning like tough subjects that you don't know how to draw, because of course, if you can't draw hands, why would you draw them? Because if what you're thinking is that you're going to show people how bad you are, or good you are, I guess, you're like, oh, well, I'm bad at drawing hands, so I'll never draw hands because it's not what I'm good at. I'm like, well, you're always thinking in terms of content. Like, I got to draw what I'm good at for people. So maybe you're really good at copying other people's art, and that's all you show people. So, and I'm going to tell you right now that I'm not always 100 with that advice to myself, because I'm not, there's a lot of things that I'm not great at that I don't draw in the sketchbook because I'm not very comfortable with them yet. And so, but again, that's something where I'm like, that's kind of stuff that I should be training personally. It should be stuff that I draw for myself. And then eventually I can show people, but I don't think in terms of, oh, I'm going to draw this for everyone. That's why this sketchbook is more of a challenge to improve on things that I'm somewhat comfortable with, and improve on those, and some of the things that I'm not good with. But to me, a sketchbook like this one of my older ones, is something where I draw things that I'm not good at maybe, and I don't intend on showing to anyone. I mean, you did see it now, but I never thought that I was going to show that sketchbook to anyone. It was just purely for me training. And so, yeah, I mean, this one, I guess you could say this sketchbook is a little bit of something that I was like, yeah, of course I'm going to show this to people, because I'm on Twitch streaming it, and people are going to want to see it, and I think it's really good to share. I wish more artists would share their process. I love to hear more artists talk about how they, whether or not they use reference, and whether or not like they struggle with certain lines and things. I'm not so much interested in how to improve. I want to know, like, I want to see, it's like, I love seeing artists show their old sketchbooks, because it shows me where I am and where I can go from where I am. You know, it's kind of like seeing, oh dang, they started like that too. They used to draw hands like that too. Oh my god, like, look at that. So anyways, I think here's when I was like, nope, gotta work on hands. Speaking of which. So, started doing a bunch of hand studies. Pretty sure I like got the hand challenge down here as well. This is very loose. I really like these lines here. I think I started to loosen up a lot here too. More hands, more anatomy poses. These are on human anatomy for artists. I messed this one up. It's supposed to be a top-down view, but he's also twisting himself in somewhat of a yoga pose. So it's kind of hard to get all of that down. But that's the beauty of digital painting and stuff. Just digital drawing, using, like, why I'm so happy about my iPad sketchbook now is because I can go back and actually practice in a way that helps me a bit to also erase. I can make a new layer and erase, you know, copy the layer, copy the mistake, keep the mistake, and then draw over the mistake. Have with this, like, the most I can do here is like say, oh, okay, these eyes are too, can you see, like, these eyes are too long, high up from the nose, so her face is a little off. So yeah, and guys, man, we're coming to the end of the sketchbook. Like, it's a couple pages left here, a couple, like 10 pages. So for anyone who's actually been watching this video, I appreciate it, like, really I do. I just felt like I should show you guys a slowed down version of the sketchbook to show you what I studied, how long, you know, I was drawing. At first I was drawing very slowly for 5 or 6 hours in the first couple pages here in the beginning. First 20 pages, 30 pages, something, I was drawing very slowly. As time went on, I noticed that so just to summarize, I guess, to tell you what I learned, I noticed that I was drawing a lot faster, for one. I was able to, like, actually replicate what I was seeing, becoming super comfortable now with, like, drawing anatomy in ways I didn't know before, because I've drawn the deltoid, I've drawn, like, whatever muscle it is. And another thing is that I don't know all the names of the muscle groups, I just know the shapes and what they look like. So I kind of liken that to being a musician and being able to play by ear. Like, Errol Garner is a jazz pianist who, really incredible jazz pianist, but did not learn how to read music. And so he was still really good at playing. He just played by ear. He played what he heard, and so that's, for me, it's kind of like, you know, I'm not going to study all the muscle groups. Like, you know, I can't even think of any names right now, because I'm like, I did try studying them for a while, and I was like, there's no point. This is too much. You know, it's most important that I know what the muscles do, what they look like, where they fall on the body in proportion to everything else. And as long as you get that down, forget the names, man. You know, it's like being a chef. I got so many analogies. It's like being a chef and knowing what salt tastes like, and being like, you know, that thing, you know, the white stuff. I mean, of course, if I'm trying to direct other people, it might be a little bit different. You know, if you're like a chef and you don't know, you're in the kitchen, you're like, hey man, pass me the white stuff, and someone passes you sugar, and you're like, oh shit, I should have learned the names. So in that aspect, yeah, it's probably helpful to learn. But I mean, if I'm drawing just for myself and stuff, I don't feel too much of a need to learn all those names. And I could be wrong, someone else might argue that, and that's okay. But yeah, more anatomy poses. Fatigue. You can see I'm fatigued because her hand looks broken. But we are down to a couple pages. I only have like 5 more pages, 6 more pages left to show you. But yeah, I did learn. I learned how fast I could draw. I learned how to draw what I see, how to allow myself to make mistakes, and how important it is for me to just enjoy what I'm doing and focus on the process of just enjoying it more than the end result, because that's what messed me up so much. So I was super excited, and this is the last page. Woo! I was super excited here, man. I wrote, and I was like, usually on the last page I end up drawing a self-portrait of myself, but I was just so tired. I think it might have been like 10 p.m. or something, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing another sketch. So I just did some little stuff here, little poses and stuff. You can see I'm super burnt out because I accidentally tore the page at the beginning of the sketchbook challenge because I dropped it once. But I was very excited here, and so Yeah, this ended at 5:13. So what's the date today? It's like 6 something. Yeah, it's 5:20 something. So I ended this last week or so, at 10 o'clock. And I just wrote fin. So yeah, guys, that is my 600-page Sketchbook SLAM challenge. Would I recommend it? Yes and no. I would say that if you are someone who feels like they want to take a big leap forward in your art, yes, in that aspect, I would say go through and train and do the sketchbook challenge, because you will learn so much. So I guess, I mean, it doesn't sound like there's any negative drawbacks. I would just say try and do the sketchbook challenge in a shorter time. You know, don't be too hard on yourself. Don't try to do it in 30 days, because I feel like you might end up just being a little lazy because you feel like maybe you have 10 days left or whatever. You know, you have 15 days left and you've only gone through half the book or something, and then you end up drawing one drawing per page and you're not learning much. And I think it's okay to draw a lot, but also, like, there's no point in drawing a lot of pages if you're just doing one drawing per page. Bruce Lee had a quote that he said, I fear the man. I think he had a quote. I think it was him. But someone had a quote that said, I don't fear the man who practices 1,000 different kicks once each. I fear the man who practices one kick 1,000 times. You know, because that one kick is going to be way more powerful than any of those 1,000 kicks that this one person did. You know, even someone posted something about restaurants and said, if a restaurant has a short menu, that's usually a good sign, because I thought so on Reddit, because it means that the chefs have practiced the dishes so many times that they've become pros at it. But if it has a really long menu and someone hasn't ordered that dish a lot of times, they might not remember how to actually do it, because they're like, I didn't practice that a lot. So I'd say just do tons of stuff. I know it sounds like overkill, but hey man, you're doing tons of faces and things like that. You know, maybe you're drawing 1,000 faces. You'll become so good at them that you'll be like, dang, you know. And I this has happened to me. I do have some imaginative drawings here, and I didn't point them out, but there's a couple of drawings in here that are from imagination, where I tested to see whether or not I had improved. And the fact that I didn't notice that they were there might be a good sign. The fact that I wasn't able to see which ones were might be a good sign, because it might entail, I think this might be from imagination, it might entail that I retained a lot of information, enough to make me be able to draw a little bit more like into life. And then from there I can just work on my style and improving that. So, thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna go and take a break now and probably go paint, actually, because like I said, I've been doing a lot of painting. So that's probably what you're gonna see next, is maybe some paintings on my channel, a lot of color on my Instagram. So anyways, thank you for watching.